Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you, Madam Rajavi, for your inspiring words, as usual, today. As you said, Madam Rajavi, this is International Human Rights Day. In fact, this year, the UN has designated today as HR 365, indicating that every day of the year is Human Rights Day. Sadly, all of us in this room know that no day in Iran or Iraq is Human Rights Day. Iran today, as Mrs. Rajavi said, is covered in blood. Iraq, next door, thanks to the mullahs in Tehran, is also covered in blood. 5 years ago, when I was elected as chair of the delegation for relations with Iraq in this House, I was told by many officials and by ambassadors, your job is to cement good relations between the European Parliament and Iraq, to build a good sympathetic relationship. Within a very few weeks, I exposed the fact that Nouri al-Maliki was a corrupt dictator, and I was told by many people in Brussels, you must shut up. You are rocking the boat. You will destabilize Iraq. And because Iran insisted and America and Britain backed the appointment, the re-election fraudulently of Nouri al-Maliki, you could even destabilize the nuclear talks in Tehran. But I refused to shut up. I was becoming rapidly, apart from my colleagues here in this room, rapidly we were all becoming lone voices in this respect. You know, Maliki called a press conference in Baghdad to accuse me of being an enemy of Iraq and a liar. He then sent an envoy from Baghdad to my office here in the European Parliament to ask me what it would take to make me shut up. And I said, what it would take will be your resignation and your indictment for crimes against humanity. But you know, my good friend Howard Dean said that the West is plagued with a history of short-termism. And this is exactly what happened. 5 years ago, Maliki lost the election to Ayad Alawi by 2 seats. But Iran said, we have a red line against Ayad Alawi because he is always complaining about Iraqi interference in Iranian interference in Iraq. So we no way will allow him to become the Prime Minister. And America and Britain and Europe backed Iran and said, okay, we support Maliki to form a coalition and to take control. That was a short-term mistake, and it was a tragedy for Iraq, it was a tragedy for the region, and a tragedy for the world. Iraq is now a bloodbath. We warned again and again that this would happen, that there would be civil war. Now, Haider al-Abadi, the new Prime Minister, says that there are over 1 million armed militia, Shiite militia, active in Iraq, backed, financed, and very often led by the Quds Force from Iran, waging sectarian war on the Sunni population. And then the world says, why is it the Sunni tribes people in Anbar and Diyala are not standing up and fighting alongside the Iraqi army to get rid of ISIS? Because the Sunni people think that the Shiite militia are worse than ISIS. If we are serious about ridding the world of ISIS, if we're serious about encouraging the Sunnis, the tribes in Iraq, to join forces with the Iraqi military, with the Peshmerga in Kurdistan, to help oust ISIS, and this is the only practical way that you can fight against ISIS, then we must rid Iraq of Iranian interference. We must tell Haider al-Abadi, appoint again the generals who were ousted by Maliki because they did not support Iranian interference. Get rid of all the Iranians in Iraq. The PMOI exposed 30,000 names of people who are working in the army, in the intelligence services, in the administration of Iraq, who have been trained and are paid a weekly wage by Iran. They expose their names, their bank account numbers, how much they're paid. This is the level of the interference of Iran in Iraq. They're extending their cancer across the whole of the region. And 12 years later, since the PMI exposed the fact that they were developing nuclear weapons, we have just